son. Where'd you find this?
Let's go.
Welcome to the Life of Phys Podcast. I'm your host, Tyson Martin. On this episode, I have Joseph Pekara, better known as Pharaoh171 Photography and Pharaoh171 Films, and Jordan Jurr, a fellow Canadian and owner of Wood Slate home based in Colorado. Joseph is one of the most influential and accomplished photographers in the music and Indigenous fashion scene. He has 4 Grammys, 3 Sonys, and the Smithsonian Award in photography. Throughout his career, Joseph has worked with artists such as the Nappy Roots, Erica Banks, Redberry Woman, Rihanna, Wale, Nicki Minaj, the Wu-Tang Clan, Hieroglyphics, DJ Snake, and 50 Cent. Joseph's mission is to capture moments through his lens and tell stories in freeze time for music artists, culture, and life itself. Jordan and his wife run Wood Slate Home. Wood Slate proudly offers customized artwork and prints of your personalized photos on Baltic birch, slate, white leather, and glass. Whether you're looking to showcase an artistic centerpiece for your home, display a fond memory, or just about anything in between, Wood and Slate can craft your desire. Jordan and Joe come on to discuss their partnership and their newest project working with the Ritz-Carlton Club Aspen Highlands in Colorado. Now let's hear a word from our podcast partner and get to the show. The Life of Phys Podcast is lit by Harlow. Harlow is on a mission to empower creators to elevate their creativity with lighting kits made to last and built to inspire. These lights are bold, beautiful, and powerful because Harlow believes that your lights deserve to be seen. To learn more, follow them on Instagram at Harlow Creators or online at www.harlow.com. And don't forget to use our discount code Tyson10 to save 10% on your order.
Well, hey, thanks for having me on the show, Tyson. So I guess I'll tell you a little bit about myself.
Don't forget your name.
My name is Jordan Jurr. Sorry. There we go. So I grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia. Want to be a pro hockey player up until I was, 18. Then I realized my skill set was severely lacking. But, in 1999, I think, right I was around 15, our family moved to Arizona and, got a bit of a culture shock coming all that way. Got really involved in the sciences and astronomy, especially out there, as you can imagine, with Kit Peak and all the observatories in that area, and kind of found a little bit of a pocket of interest in optical sciences. And so I'm not sure how much you know about University of Arizona, but great optical sciences college, world famous. So got my undergrad there, did the 6-year, 4-year route, I guess you can call it. And so, that was pretty fun, I would say. In hindsight, I felt kind of bad, graduating so late. But I think having that maturity when you graduate has helped a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's always nice to be a little bit older, right? That's what my parents always told me.
Exactly, yeah. I felt like Billy Madison, going through that school program. And so, yeah, I guess after that, hit industry, worked in semiconductor industry for 5 years, had a really cool job working in EUV research labs, state of the art, a company called Cymer, which was then acquired by ASML. So they're literally the company, right, that makes all those light sources that are used to manufacture the semiconductor chips that go into wearables and now into our smartphones and things like that. So great experience. But after 5 years, I thought, what, saw the road, 10 years down the road and said, all right, let me make a left here. So went back to grad school, pumped that out in a year because I was kind of doing the grad school dual program while you work. Was able to finish in a year and then got a job in consumer electronics company, Microsoft. Made my way to Fort Collins in around 2016 and, worked there for 5 years and then transitioned to Apple for 2.5 years after that. And so I think a lot of what, we do at Wood Slate and working with Joe is applying a lot of those working fundamentals and principles towards how we manufacture our wood goods and even the product design aspect. So at these companies, all the manufacturing is done, let's say, for example, China, right? All the iPhone is done over there. And so we come up with the design aspects of it, and then we have folks over there build it. And then it's kind of this iterative process where you're, running through reliability, process optimization, hitting other KPIs and other engineering disciplines, and really fine tuning something to get like the best product possible. And so I do a bit of woodwork myself, but not really what I would call an expert. And so I come up with a product design and say, hey, you guys are the experts. Can you make this for me? And then we try to focus on making unique print products with those wood designs. But I guess I could back up a little bit and talk about my transition from engineering to sort of entrepreneurial endeavors, and especially in such like it's a pretty odd shift for me to go from working in consumer electronics to this. So I guess it was probably over COVID, right? We had the whole lockdown situation, there's so much uncertainty around there. And I really realized that I kind of want to be in control of my own destiny, and I want to be responsible for the livelihood of my family, and really just take ownership of that. And so that's kind of how I got into printing. And always been artistic in some senses, more so on the musical side of things, not so much in I guess what you call true like art, or even photography.
Music is art, my friend.
It is, yeah. Yeah, art's a pretty broad, I guess, yeah, that's true. Art's very broad definition, right? But it was kind of cool. Photography was like kind of led me towards that path because, camera design is what I really did in consumer electronics. So to go from the technical camera design to now using it as a tool to create was sort of the path I took. Then printing was the other side of it, right? Because you take a photo, what are you going to do with it? Look at it on your phone all day, right? Well, let's find a way to make that cool. And so I think it was really the creativity and the engineering disciplines from my consumer electronics background that led me down this sort of exploratory path of, different print mediums, different patterns, different textures. And, you can go on Google and take a look and say, okay, I want a canvas print. And you're going to get thousands of companies, right? So I knew I wanted to be more unique and do something different. And so found this really cool printing technology that enabled me to, print on anything flat, essentially. And what I kind of discovered along the way is that you can create anything. The limitation of it is really, the limitation of your own creativity. So as long as you're, curious about things and willing to try, I think that's where, you discover things that work, right? I mean, it's like the Thomas Edison light bulb thing, right? He just kept trying and trying and trying. Then he's like, oh, tungsten's what works, right? So it was kind of a bit of that, meandering, like you can call it Brownian motion, right? The path a photon takes out of the sun, right?
Man, you really did study science.
Yeah. Sorry if I'm rambling here, but
no, dude, I love it. This is what we're all about. I mean, we're all about, I want to learn about you, right? I love the story of you and how you became or how you got to where you are. Just like with Joe, we talked about his childhood, growing up, how he got into photography, and then the whirlwind world that Joe's been in. Like his life with that camera has just gone everywhere. So he's been able to build from that, and that's what people want to hear. They want to hear, oh wow, so he had a normal job, he's working for some high-tech companies, and he's like, you know what, I want to put what I know to use, building something that I can be proud of, that is mine, that has my name on it. So I think that's amazing, man. So yeah, don't worry about it. People, just tell your story. Don't worry about rambling. I ramble. I'll go. I think Joe and I had like 45 minutes or an hour of just rambling on ours.
We said we were done and it went for an hour.
Yeah. So,
nice.
You're
the editing master as well. So I'm just going to,
just talk and I'll do my best.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess well, I'm trying to think what really kind of like drove me to say yes, do something yourself was, I mean, working at Apple. That place is like you learn a ton from there, okay? But you also pay a price. I mean, you're doing 60, 70 hours a week. Um, I remember like one time my manager was like, I should be able to call this team at any hour of the day. And if they're not working, that's a problem. And I was like, oh man, that's a pretty high expectation to have. I mean, don't these people have kids or wives or lives, you know?
Yeah.
And so that kind of made me go, man, I don't know if this is like the sacrifice is worth it, right? Great pay, don't get me wrong, like best paying job I've ever had, learned a ton. But it really made me look inward and say, okay, what do I want to do with my life? Um, you know, I'm like, I'm aging pretty rapidly here too, right?
You're
Um,
aging well,
so I
though.
think that, that's something. Well, thank you. I've been in post Apple rehab for 2 years, so not to knock on Apple, right? I don't want to listen to an Apple bashing thing.
When I was in the hospital,
Um,
it was coming up to my 50th birthday, and I kept saying like I need to be home for my birthday. I'm
mhm,
not spending it in here. And so many people couldn't believe I was
mhm.
50. And I was like, I'm 50. I feel
Yeah, I would not
85.
guess your 50.
Right. But yeah, that expectation of being working at any time of the night when someone calls, like that is such a
Yeah,
weird expectation for any business to have for you. I used to give
right. It is.
so many hours to my 9 to 5 job. I used to show up early, like a couple hours early. I'd stay a couple hours late. And now I went
Yeah.
3 years ago when I moved to the company I'm with now. They're like, "Oh, what about extra hours?" I'm like, "I'm not interested. I'll be here at
Hmm.
9 o'clock and I'm leaving at 5:30." But
Yeah.
I sacrificed a lot of my kids' childhood because I was a single dad of
Right.
4 kids for 10 years. So I sacrificed a lot of my time with my kids to make sure we had a roof over our head and food on the table. So
Yeah. And
now
it's
I
those
see it.
moments that you want, yeah.
I'll never get them back. Right.
Yeah.
So
Time, it's one commodity we all have the same amount of, or well, not really even, but it's finite and we don't know how much we actually are going to get out of it, right? So, um,
100%.
yeah, it's after a while working there, I really felt like I was owned. And it was such a weird feeling. I was like, wow, I don't feel like I could be myself, have a life, do things that interest me because of this ownership that like it really felt that way. It's not like some just, me trying to be overly dramatic or anything, but it felt that way. And it was that moment where I was like, gosh, okay, if I'm gonna be working this hard, I better be doing it for myself and doing something I love. Um, and something, that I don't know is more me. And engineering always felt like me, but there's a side of me, right, that always felt like, all right, I want to do something more in the arts. And, you know, sure I can play guitar songs, but I'm not any good. So I'm not going to go become a musician. But maybe I can find something that leans on, my engineering background and blends it with that art side. And this was sort of like the perfect marriage for me. So
That's super cool. So I'm
yeah,
I'm reading on your website now. I mean, you can do
yeah,
prints on Baltic birch, slate, white leather, or glass. Like, how did
correct.
slate
Yeah.
come about? I've never actually heard of anybody doing
Yeah.
any kind of artistic print on a piece of slate.
That was, I guess, part of the experimental process. I was just looking for, any flat surface that was different. Um, and I think, chalk is one of those lost mediums that you don't see anymore. And it's really cool. I like chalk art, right? And then I started getting into, Photoshop at the same time. And, again, not being a graphics design artist, I couldn't really go create something, but you can go get an action bundle that someone else has created and you can take a photo and translate it to chalk style medium, right? And I was like, okay, well, people write chalk on slate, so wouldn't it be cool if I could take a photo, render it to look like a chalk style uh, drawing, and then put that on a chalk style medium like slate. So that's kind of how that came about.
That's super cool, super creative, and like I've never heard of it. So I think you're definitely ahead of the curve on that one. How did you and Joe connect?
I'm trying to guess. I guess actually I play hockey with his brother, Brian. Shout out to Brian.
Yep.
And Joe had a show coming up, and I think he wanted to do something a little bit different. And we had a discussion one night over a few beers and a few games of pool. And yeah, I think that was the first CSU show, and kind of
Yeah,
told him
he printed for my museum exhibit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So go ahead, Jordan. Sorry.
yeah. Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah. And so he said he wanted something a little bit different. He had talked to a few printers before, but it sounded like they were all kind of doing similar things on canvas, or even photo paper. And so I think that, part of giving Joe's Indigenous background and, the content of what we were printing, it was, I think, I don't want to speak for Indigenous cultures, but I feel like there's a big element of having a strong relationship with nature. And so I was like, well, you got really cool photos of nature. Why not put it on an element from nature and create something different? And the way I kind of say it is that printing on wood is a way to transform a photo into artwork. And that's kind of, I believe, what we did at that CSU show.
And you also did the leather too, which was a great connection of because Norma and that shoot we did, the Grammy shoot we did, was all northern people of northern tribes, whereas a lot of leather is worn in those tribes, whether it be regalia. And so being printed on leather, there was also a lot of leather objects in the shoot that were in the photos. And so to have Jordan's print on the leather canvas really brought out the leather in the photo. And really everyone else, Jordan always says, the texture of your skin on leather and stuff, it really brings out the facial dimensions a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, really amazing.
It's bringing it back to that connection to the earth, man. I really like that. I like how you're just continuing being Indigenous, having my feet on grass or dirt or in the water is very, very important to me. It's how I have to ground myself. Of course, as I knock everything over on my desk. So what does the leather print look like? Does it look just like a normal photo?
I can go grab one if you want. I don't know the quality of this video, but
yeah, I just want to see
I got one behind me.
Oh, go for it, Jordan. Sorry, you'll be faster than me. But it was those little things that in my exhibit that I don't know if people really put together, or kind of matched with Indigenous leather, wood. But that's just one of those little things of if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah, that print right there with the buffalo.
Yeah,
dude.
It's really hard to see the quality of it and get a sense for how it adds to the photo over webcam video. Not the best resolution.
I can feel the depth in it.
Yeah.
I think this is weird. I have the best video quality right now. That's,
You should see you.
No, but that, I actually, I'll after this, I want to talk to you. I have a photo. I sent it to Joe. So in Vancouver, in Kamloops, they did a memorial for the 215 students that never came home from the residential school, which my grandmother escaped from that school.
Oh, wow.
So for me, it's extra deep, but it's a girl and it's silhouetted. It's got this crazy sunset and she's silhouetted, but she's putting her hand on the center of a dream catcher. And,
there's a beauty.
And she was saying, it brought me to tears during the thing, but she was saying, you'll never be forgotten again. And that's something I think that's a piece to me that I want to have forever. If I have hard drive failure or whatever, I want that on something special. So that's something I would love to talk to you about when we're done here.
Yeah. Here's a portrait. I'm hoping you can see the leather. There we go.
Yeah.
You see that at that angle?
I see the textures. Yeah. Makes it look.
A pebbling effect.
Yeah. Wow. Was this just another experiment? here's another material.
This was,
Let's figure
this
it
was
out.
like one of the first ones I experimented. Yeah, it was literally just like, all right, I got this really cool tool that I can print on anything. Let's just try it. It was, I kid you not, I literally went to Joann's like at 10 a.m. one day. You know, it's everyone's grandma that's there, right? And it was like this young kid there. They're like, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm buying some fabric. I'm gonna go try and print out some different things.
That's cool.
And so yeah, I probably picked up like 10 different fabrics and just went at it.
That's really, really cool. So
why I love Jordan stuff is, I've had stuff printed. Like I gave my brother one of my eagle pictures for a gift one time, and I had it printed on a canvas. I've had stuff printed on like, the all the kind of any kind of paper you could think of, and it just doesn't like those. I like the canvas. It takes away pixels. It really doesn't give the sharpness of the photo. At least the places that I've had printed canvas on. And so like my brother's photo of this eagle, when I got it, it was just like, I was disappointed because now this is like a presentation of my photo, and the photo on my computer screen looks, way sharper, way better. And then I blow it up to this canvas, and the canvas just makes it look flat. And so did a lot of the poster paper, or a lot of the paper. And with Jordan, it's like just adding like wood, like the grain of wood. And he can go in depth with this if you like, is like, you can either like print just the photo and not see the wood grain in the background, or Jordan has the ability to, do different layers of, well, how much wood grain do you want to see? How much wood grain do you not want to see? And like some of these photos, I have this picture of a tree. I think I told you last time I have a tree by my house. I've taken a photo in every season, and it's just a silhouette of this weirdly perfect tree, and it's a sunset. And when Jordan printed this photo, this thing, it popped just as much on a screen. It had every detail on there, and adding the wood grain in the sky, it was just like a whole nother level of depth and just beauty of a print. Like it kind of looks like clouds sometimes. Like we did this maroon bells one. The wood grain just added so much more depth and like eeriness to the clouds, and it was so cool. And his prints, they don't take any quality away. If anything, how he prints and the wood he prints on and the leather, it really adds value to your photo. I don't know how to explain it unless you really see it in person. Because once I saw these come into the museum, I was like, holy cow, these are gorgeous. It was like Christmas. I was like, I already knew what pictures I printed, but every time I took one, I was like, holy cow. Like,
and it's weird when you go through a lot of people in a lot of printing places trying to find somebody that can give you that quality that you sent in. So I went through probably 15 or 20 different papers before I decided to settle on bamboo matte paper because it had texture.
Nice.
And I found that I wanted to be a painter or an illustrator growing up, Jordan. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to draw and I wanted to create art, but I never could. I was horrible. I could draw a mean stick figure, but that was it. So when I found the camera, I tried to shoot. I'm very much a very vibrant color guy. So I really wanted to find a paper that resembled a print. So when it went into a frame, it looked like a painting. So that's what I was after. So when I found bamboo paper, it had that effect. Right. So, but now like these other mediums, these things have me like my mind's going crazy with it. Like, I don't know if you can see, but that's the picture I was telling you about.
Oh yeah. It's a beautiful silhouette.
So that little girl, I wish I would have got the mom's name. So I could have sent them a print, but to see the connection that she felt with this memorial, there was 215 crosses in the ground for the kids who didn't come home, and then this one huge dream catcher. But just to watch her interact and say you'll never be alone or never be forgotten again, It's hard to explain, especially when you know your family. Like I lost an uncle there, and a few other family members. So for me, like my connection was deep to this, like one specifically. But yeah, so that's a print I would love to come up with a unique solution with you on that one.
Yeah, I'd love to work with you. Yeah.
So you've worked with Joe on a couple different exhibits?
Yeah, so what's our first, I guess, museum exhibit? One thing I just wanted to say, when Joe was commenting about the grain, what's really cool about it is that no two images are going to be the same when you do that. And all the grain pattern, kind of you're at the mercy of, whatever you get from the mill. And so I think on the second show Joe and I did together, we're like, okay, let's be a little bit more mindful of like how we're matching the photo with the grain pattern. He mentioned one of Maroon Bells that's up in Aspen, which is the location of our second project together. And so we had Joe took this really cool, dark and stormy, had like some beautiful amber notes in it, a picture of the bells. And so the skies just looked, sort of ominous. And we thought, okay, well, let's find which grain here is going to work best. And so we ended up having this grain that swirled up, kind of like, clouds could swirl in the air. And so when we printed on that, it just added a little bit more to, the subject of the photo, and kind of spoke to a bit of the mood, I guess, of it. So I guess matching the mood of the photo to, I guess, the mood of the grain, if you could say it that way.
Yeah, no, that would be kind of neat, because if it's super moody sky and you can get that grain twisting, right? And you can bring out the different, how deep that grain or how much you can see. Like, yeah, you could play with that in a lot of different ways. I can see the benefit of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so with the talk on the second show, so we just did a big project we're excited to announce. So we're in the Ritz-Carlton Club, Aspen Highlands. So that's right, at the base of Aspen Highlands Ski Resort. I think it's one of 4 ski resorts in Aspen. This is the only one that's, I think, ski in, ski out for Aspen Highlands. And we did a few photos in the lobby, a few photos in the restaurant. So we're very excited to, be in that location, working with all the great ladies and gentlemen at Ritz-Carlton, and, excited to grow that relationship and see, what else we can do with them. We made up, Joe, we have this really cool cutting board thing where we're kind of like experimenting, right? And that's kind of like what we like to do, is just try new things. And so in the restaurant, we have 2 prints. And then we also made cutting boards that had our logos CNC on it. So kind of provide this opportunity for folks working there to, oh, well, yeah, here's this cutting board. We serve various things on it. And by the way, they have this artwork hanging on here that's, printed on the same media. And it kind of shows the versatility of, I guess, what you can do with wood in general and art as well. So
Congratulations on the connection with Ritz-Carlton. That's huge.
thank you.
And I like
It's been a journey. It's been a long journey. But you know what? Tyson? It goes back to our conversation with our first podcast. Is one of my advice to you was, just take your shot. And that's really just how it came about. Was there was a man sitting next to me who was in the hotel business, and I asked him, how do you get? And I wasn't even like trying to get anything in with him. It was just, you're somebody that I know that's in the business. How do you get your work into a hotel? And in that moment, we were sitting at Odell's Brewery having a beer, and I was sitting there contemplating, like, do I take this moment, or do I, I don't want to make this a business moment because we're just hanging out, but, and I did. And I just asked him, and he was like, you know what? Funny you asked that. And it branched from that. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but, it always starts with a simple, take the step, and you'll never know if you don't. So
don't be afraid to jump with both feet.
Yep.
I mean, lots has changed since our first interview, especially for me, you know, trying to still navigate this craziness that this podcast has brought to my life.
And you've had some great names on here.
Thank you.
And it's been really inspiring to, you know, watch you grow and listen to the growth of the podcast itself, and but also like the growth of and diversity of who you're getting, because it's like paper, like printing on paper. When I was printing on paper, it's like I didn't even know there was this many pieces of paper. Listening to your podcast, it's like, holy cow, this world is like so broad.
I looked at a lot of podcasts. I have a lot of podcasts I love to listen to, but they were only going after the big name guys. And I've been fortunate to get some big name people in the photographic industry. But I think it's people like yourself, Joe, and, you know, like Reggie out of Washington, or Ricky, he's in Jersey. These guys they're putting in work. Like, these guys are putting out amazing projects, but they don't have that name. They don't have the following, but they have that passion, and their story is so inspiring. Like, I sat down with Devin Allen for 3.5 hours, and Devin Allen is somebody that I inspired to be, as far as his style of documenting his city. Sure. He started with the Freddie Gray incident in Baltimore, and then one of his photos got the cover of Time magazine. He'd been shooting for 2 years at that point, you know, and then he followed the Baltimore uprising after, and then he got his Gordon Parks fellowship. Like, come on, like how inspiring of a story is that? Yeah. So I want to be diverse. I want to be a platform where people, and I mean, we really don't even talk about photography much anymore. It's more about that story and the journey.
Right, exactly, yeah. And that's where art's inspired by. I mean, it's kind of like the loss of hip-hop to me, is there's no inspiration anymore. It's just the control of record labels and what they want. Hip-hop was good in the 90s.
I agree with you there.
And it's not so popular anymore because the storytelling's gone. People liked Biggie because of his story. People liked M and all those names because of their stories. It was the connection. It wasn't the fame. It was, I can relate to you. And because you made it here from where I'm from, you give me hope of being not you, but someone like you.
They show people that there is a path and a ladder that you can follow, or mold yourself around, not to copy, but to be inspired, to follow a similar path to create your own art. And that's kind of what the world needs to get back to. I mean, I have an 11-year-old, and the stuff he comes home and says, I just shake my head. Like, I'm not even sure where in reality this comes from. Sure. You know, for like, I hear stuff, and like, I have a 19-year-old, I have a 17-year-old, I have a 22-year-old, 23-year-old, and a 30-year-old. So I hear all the different eras talking, and this new era, they're just so confused about what life is. Yeah. You know,
I think a lot of them are like scared to take risks. And I think that's what I've learned the most from Fifth is, like, the man doesn't sleep, and he inspires me just by work ethic, and it makes me want to work harder. Yeah. And it makes me want to push myself more. And so with Jordan, you know, after talking with my team before me and Jordan even connected, was them, who aren't even in my business, opening my eyes to what I can do with my art. You know, everybody knows my concert stuff, and the museum exhibit was so amazing to me because it allowed me to show my wildlife, my landscape, everything else. And so with my team explained to me, like, you can broaden yourself beyond any stage, and whether it be a fashion stage, a concert stage, a mountaintop stage, you know, out in the landscape. And it was more of a talk of like, create your brand, create what you want to be, and have a vision and a product that is different than everybody else. And so that's what Jordan brings to me, is he gives me my own image of a photographer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like an artist having their own sound. Jordan helps me provide and create a vision of my art on how I think it should be displayed. And like you said, that you can buy the same picture, but what makes our work together so explicit is you may have the same picture, but you won't have the same wood grain. You're not going to have the same leather texture. So no matter what piece you buy, a lot of artists do like one of 300 pieces. I don't need to do that because every piece is so different wood grain wise. I don't need a limit. Your piece is worth just as much as number 6 or number 40 because it's so different due to the wood grain or anything that it's printed on. And that just speaks volumes on what Jordan's providing and the work that he does.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. I mean, that's the best compliment I think I've ever received, since I started.
But it's taking a risk, right? It's like Jordan took a risk on me, all these, sample prints, and him and I sit in his shop a lot and do prints. And it really comes down to, do you have the mentality to sit here and go through this process of screwing up? Because once you get that one, it's like, oh man,
yeah,
here it is. And it's like, nobody knows that part of the story. They just see oh wow, that's what it looks like. But nobody knows the hours that, we sit in the shop and figure this out. And sometimes, Jordan's there even longer than I am. And it's just the care that you take into your art to make it speak louder than what seems to be what everyone else is doing. So even like your photos that you've been putting out on Instagram, I love them. When you post them, I know it's your photo. It's because you have your own style.
I appreciate that.
And and I mean that in like an amazing way, because if I can look at a photograph and know who took that photo, that you're doing great things in my eyes. Because it's like, I could point out an R.C. Gorman painting or Frank Howell painting because they have their own ways. You have your own way, and it inspires me to keep, creating.
Mm-hmm.
Having your own way is like a signature, and that's what you need with artwork. Because I don't think artwork can be judged, but to me, it needs to be noticeable to be successful.
Yeah. Being original or unique these days, I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet. That's such a hard thing to do as well. So.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Jordan, I suffered in the beginning trying to follow the status quo. Like, you need everything to be identical. Like your Instagram, because that was my calling card. That's how people could find me. You had to have the exact same color palette. And I couldn't do it because I'm a super vibrant. I want to put my own spin on what I saw in that image. I visualize an image in a different color pattern than what I took the photo in. Right. So I work when I'm editing, I work in my head with that color palette that I saw to try to create the vision that I want to share with everybody. So hearing Joe say like he knows my photos and that I have my own style. I mean, that's something I've been shooting for 6 years, and I've struggled for the last 5 of them to find it. So this is the one that I just posted now. I don't know if you can catch a good look at it.
Yeah.
Very nice. It's a oh, there we go. It was blurry. Nice.
So
that's got a really cool mood to it.
Yeah, so that's first morning in the winter. So all the grasses were frosty, the sun was popping, and I just envisioned that sun just taking over the background. So that's when I amplify the colors of the sun and I bring them up, and I try to work with what I see in my head.
Gotcha.
And I feel like, what you were saying, Joe, about Jordan, he takes what you already envisioned and he puts it in his unique spin on it. And when you see it, that's exactly the image you saw before it, you saw it in your head a certain way, you shot it, you edited, but then those little extras that come in the print, the textures, the wood grains, things like that, they really just, they put that little bit of sprinkle on the top. like that little
Yeah.
finishing touch that we're missing with what we can do in our editing.
Yeah.
Right.
Colors
And,
such
and it's
sorry, go
sorry,
ahead.
Jordan. It's not to and I just wanted to clarify, like not having your own image, or like what I was saying with Tyson of like when I look at your image, I know it's Tyson. If you don't have that yet, you're not a failure. And I don't
No,
want
not
like
at all.
anybody to think like, oh, I don't have that, so I'm not successful. I'm not saying that at all. Keep creating. And anything you capture is art. So nobody's opinion should matter of, if someone doesn't like it, then that's their opinion. That's the beauty of art, is if somebody doesn't like it, doesn't mean you failed. There's probably a million other people that love it. But if you don't have your quote image yet of what you're looking for, use that as a drive to keep creating, because you're going to find 10 different ways before you find the one that really sticks.
100%.
So don't ever think you're a failure. I'm not ever saying anyone in art is a failure. Keep creating, and that's the beauty of art. So,
And it'll happen when you least expect it.
I fail still, it's like.
But what's cool about your work, Joe, is that you're multi-talented. You don't just focus on the concert stuff that you do. I mean, you've got landscape, you've got wildlife, you got moments. And that's what, you can specialize and do one thing, but man, if you leave your mind open to capture whatever's around you, you give yourself so much more opportunity to figure out a style that just makes you happy. And that's what's most important in the art.
Yeah. Like to me, I hate perfect lighting. I absolutely hate it. I think shadows create depth, and it creates a thought of wonder. And I know a lot of people like really want the perfect light. That's why I don't use flash. And I'm not saying anyone that uses flash is wrong. It's just my style. That's the art that I love, is anything that's not perfectly lit, anything that is legit life and how you would see it in the moment you saw it. So even little things like that, if you guys are out there listening to figure out how to create what you love, take 6 pictures and create each one differently. And I bet you'll find 2 that you like better.
And don't worry about your gear.
Exactly. You don't need the newest gear.
Get out and shoot. Well, Jordan, you might need the latest gear in what you do, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting to hear you guys talk about color, right? Because it's one of those things that it speaks to the mood, right? And it's such an evocative thing. It can tell so much about what is perceived when you look at a piece of art. But then there's also the very technical side of color. It's like, what is red? What is blue? What is green? And so a lot of the experimentation we do is like, Joe has his photo and how it's captured on a silicon chip, and how it would look on pure, glossy paper is maybe how like the purest form of photography, right? And so we go through the process of, okay, well, printing on wood, well, it's a little bit amber, right? It kind of has this sepia quality to it. So we kind of have to tweak a little bit of the parameters to restore the technical side of the color if the color is how we want it already. And so that's part of the I guess the discovery process Joe and I've gone through together, is to say, all right, how do we go do that, right? What's involved from the technical side of it, and we got this, what I call proprietary printing method. I call it true color printing technology or something like that. Something that we've developed by just going through this trial and error process, by printing on wood and printing on leather on backgrounds that aren't pure white, which will have, color shifting properties to them. So, and I think, that's more the engineer side of me, right? That tries to quantify things and make them into little process buckets.
Well, that's a really good point, though. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that, okay, I'm going to send a printout to get it printed on wood. That's the end of it for me. But you never think that the leather or the wood or any of the materials you're printing on, they'll have a change. It'll shift the way that photo looks.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to kind of go in and, like, I guess, would that be like a reverse engineering of the colors to make sure that they get as close to the image as humanly possible?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could just do nothing and say, all right, it's such a subtle shift. I mean, I'm not here with like a color meter or anything, measuring things and saying, to the nanometer how close this is. could if you wanted to, and there are photographers out there that is very important, where color replication is like maybe the number one criteria when it comes to print. But I think even even without using this proprietary printing method, just printing purely on the wood itself, I love it. It has, it's not quite sepia. Sepia is pretty amber, right? But it has a subtle hint of that, but it also has something different that you just got to see yourself really and see if you like it. It's not for, it's not for everybody, right? It is pretty niche what we do. Um, but that's where we want to be. We want to be in that little pocket of um trying out different things and seeing what we create with those things. And I think we got something pretty cool. So I think I'm very excited to work with Joe on in these next projects and just to.
I mean, from what I've seen so far, I wish I could travel more and come down and actually physically be there.
Yeah.
One, to support you guys, but two, I just would love to see the technology and see how it works.
I love to show you. I mean, you can kind of get a glimpse of it in the background here.
I know. I was like, wow, look at all that craziness.
Yeah. You come here, though, I'm gonna put you to work. So.
Oh, dang it.
He does. Yeah, he does. He puts my kid to work. So
that's sick. Yeah. I love that.
But I think one thing that I love about working with Jordan is it's I've had to learn, and I've had to learn to let go of, because my work is like my own child. I created it the exact way that I want it, and that's the beauty of me being an artist, is I can create how I want. But like Jordan was saying, like print out wood, it's like the first few times I gave Jordan my photos and we had to tweak colors. I really had to sit there and bite my tongue and really trust somebody to handle touching my work, because it is the most precious thing to me. And it's been a great learning experience for me in just the area of trust of, if you want someone to trust you, you got to learn to trust them. And what you're doing in your field. I had to really step back and I know nothing of what Jordan was doing when I first started with him. And I really had to learn to trust, but that's how you build and that's how you grow. And I don't ever want to be in a position where I know everything or I think I know everything. I always want to grow. That's why with the Grammys, it's cool, I got Grammys. I want to go in another direction. I want to make myself known in another area. And that is, so my museum exhibit was the first time I ever saw my work printed. It was just beautiful. It was a whole nother door that opened in my mind of seeing it from screen to a piece of wood was just, I was speechless. And it's allowed me to open these doors in which my team with Fifth and Nappy have talked about with me of growing in my own art. And I'm so grateful for Jordan to be a person that I've gained so much trust with. I can give him a photo now and I trust whatever it is the outcome's going to be great. And if I have a say, then I trust that he listens to my say. And then we'll figure it out in the middle, It's a great relationship. And in the end, I've just learned, it's so fun to learn to me. And even watching print and learn how to print, learn what different woods are. It's fun to grow. And I hope that, as a photographer, you're not stuck behind the camera. There's so many ways that you can grow in this industry, with, ways to bring your art with you, and make your art so much better. And so that's something that I've learned with Jordan is, just a business relationship and trust with, my art in someone else's hands. Is a big thing for me.
Yeah. When you have people you can trust behind you, I mean, everything is easier because you stop worrying about those little things as an artist that will nitpick constantly. Mm-hmm. When you see results that you're happy with, you can constantly move forward. You constantly can be like you said, Jordan, here's a photo, and it shows up done. You're like, nailed it. That's such a cool experience.
Yeah. And I mean, trust went both ways, right? I mean, for Joe to trust in me to say, all right, we can figure this out and go through that whole process. I mean, there was so much trial and error to kind of, land where we are today. And, to get an opportunity to work with a photographer like Joe is, I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Um, so it was been complete blessing to work with him. And then, his body of work too, the versatility of it, right? I mean, how many photographers out there can say, yeah, fashion, music, wildlife, landscapes. I mean, it's really just it's a ton of fun. And shooting different subjects is or printing different subjects is, you know, a lot of fun as well because you get to find out what works with, maybe concerts don't look as good on wood as maybe landscapes or wildlife, but how do we make them look better, right? And that process of making everything look good is where you sweat, you cry, and you bash your head, but in the end, you're persistent and you're curious about how to work through problems. I think you'll find something that eventually does work for you both.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I can see like the way you both speak so highly of each other. I mean, you have so much mutual respect that,
Mhm.
Working together on something like a Ritz-Carlton project, whether it took months and months of ups and downs, you guys got your stuff there. It's on the wall. It's on those cutting boards. Your logo is seen every time a cutting board is used.
Mhm.
That's put in front of people constantly. I mean,
Mhm.
I tell my boss now, because we build custom overland trucks. That's what we do. That's what I do for a living.
Nice.
And I say, every time we build something, there's all these small spots that we need to take advantage of and market ourselves on.
Mhm.
Put the logo on it because people see that and they look down, they see the logo, they may call us for $100,000 build.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. So being able to push yourself in every avenue, it's super impressive to know, the Ritz-Carlton, like everybody knows what a Ritz-Carlton is.
Yeah.
I mean, is there more? Are you guys going to do more with them?
Can I tell you this story, Tyson, real quick? Sorry, Jordan.
Please do.
Because it involves the Ritz, and it was so cool to bring Jordan to this show. I had a full circle moment, and I never really knew what that meant until I understood what it was, but like I've never experienced it until this moment. Nappy Roots, they started touring again, so I got to do shows, and they came to Denver. So I always try to bring friends or family to the shows when I can. And so I invited Jordan to the show, and we get to the show. So the first night, I'm sorry, Jordan came to the second night, but it was all weekend. I'm in the green room backstage, waiting for Nappy to get there. And down the stairs comes Andrew Yeager. And Andrew Yeager was, and I shouldn't even say used to anymore, because I've realized throughout my journey of being in the music industry is, Andrew will always be my family, whether he's with Nappy anymore or not, how much he's involved with Nappy anymore. He's always welcome. And, I'm not even the person to say he's welcome because he gave me my opportunity as a photographer. And that was my full circle moment. Was I haven't seen Drew in, over 7 years. He was the man that gave me the opportunity and opened the door with me for Nappy Roots. And once he left, I hadn't seen him in years. And that, I don't know, when was the show, Jordan? In October or something. And this man just walked down the stairs. I had no idea he was coming. And it was just like, wow. It brought me back to the 8 years ago of when I was learning from this guy. And even the 2 nights I was with him, I was still learning. And it was so cool to watch him work. And I was just in a weird funk, and it just inspired me to keep going, because it just brought me back to that moment of starting and beginning and not knowing anything. And I had so much to tell him between the time I had not seen him to now. And it was like Jordan with what we're doing, museum exhibit and the Ritz-Carlton. It was like, I was so excited to tell Drew about just the journey I've had since him and I had last seen each other. And did I get to introduce you, Jordan? Or
I don't think I officially met Andrew. Drew, we were gonna meet up in because I think he's in Carbondale.
Yeah.
We're gonna meet in Aspen, but
Small world, and he lives up in Aspen.
yeah, we'll have to meet him in January when we head back up.
Yeah. So just a small, like, it's so cool to like have Jordan where we are now, and Drew so close to, where me and Jordan are now at the Ritz-Carlton. It's just such a small world, but it was such a cool full circle moment to bring the man. Like, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you or sitting in a Ritz-Carlton with Jordan if it wasn't for Drew. And maybe there was a different path I took to get somewhere else on, but Drew was the guy who opened my mind and every door that I have the courage to open now myself. But he's the guy that inspires me every day through my work. And it was so cool to have Jordan and Drew in the same vicinity.
Yeah. It sounds like Drew was he helped you build your foundation.
Yeah.
He helped you, and then you think when, you left the Nappy Roots, you started working for 50.
I'm still with Nappy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're still with Nappy. I knew that. But like, just how much you've expanded.
Don't get me fired, Tyson.
I ain't getting you fired, bro.
I'm just kidding.
Come on. But like, even the stuff you do with like Red Berry Woman and you're great, like the Grammys, and you're so humble about them. And that's why I love you, brother. I mean, you have done all of these things that people would be like, man, that guy has a right to not be humble. But you're like, nah, man, it's a stepping stone. Look at my progression. Look how I did it. I'm laying out the path for one, you're an inspiration to the Indigenous youth who are trying to come up. And as Indigenous men, that's super important that we inspire our own. So, you're showing them that there is ways for them to not feel the setback or the pressures that we feel on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Right. So you're giving them a pattern. You're like, I just reached out, man. That's all I did. I posted, I sent photos. Look at me now. Don't be afraid to ask.
There's always in-betweens though, It's like you got to put in the work. And I feel like going back to your conversation with the generation is everybody wants the instant gratification, and there's no way you're going to keep the instant gratification if you don't understand the work it took to get there. Because once you get the instant gratification of being famous or whatever it is you're trying to do, you don't know the work that it took to stay there. So you won't know what work you have to do to stay there. Mm-hmm. You'll just expect it. It's like kids or people that just feel entitled to, whatever it is they're entitled to.
Lottery winners, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of them go bankrupt, right? Because they require the discipline and work ethic to actually earn that much money, and you're just given it instantly. And it's kind of this, I become very impulsive. Yeah.
And we're like, with Jordan, it's like, it's important to me, and I've learned it from Fifth, but me as a person, I was always this way as well, but Fifth always shows me the importance of, you need to understand every aspect of what you're doing. So if I just threw Jordan a print and said, Jordan, print this, and then it gets put up in a Ritz-Carlton and I run into somebody at the Ritz-Carlton who wants to buy it, in my eyes, I need to know every aspect of what this piece is. I don't care if I'm the photographer that took it and I have 4 Grammys behind me. At the end of the day, that's where the Grammys like kind of don't matter anymore, right? We're in this moment with this piece of art. So if it's a buffalo on a certain piece of wood and this lady wants to buy it and she says, well, I want this same wood. What is this wood? And I say, I don't know. The quality of that piece and my reputation just completely drop. It makes me look like I don't care enough to care about what I'm putting out. That's me boasting about, well, I have Grammys, that you should just buy my piece. I don't know anything about it, but just know that my name's on it. That's so dumb to me. And that the quality of my name and the work that I create is going to go down. I want to know everything about everything. So if somebody asks me a question, I know the answer. And same with Jordan. Like I can give Jordan a piece of my work, and Jordan knows my work to know what I do and don't like. And even if it's something I don't like, he still has the courage to ask me, like, what about this though? Because it still expands my mind to grow. and accept. But with Jordan, it's like I'm also representing Jordan now.
Yeah, it's a team.
If I'm having a conversation with somebody about our work, I don't want to be like, well, hang on, let me call Jordan. It looks so bad.
It shows how much you care. If you know the process, if you know the materials it's printed on, you can explain the steps. And if they ask how it took so long because you had to do step, and this is the process, that makes people go, you really care about your work. Like, you're not just throwing them up for people to buy, like you said.
No.
So that's great advice for people.
And the funny thing is the most asked question I ever hear someone ask Jordan is, how do you print this? Like, what's the printer? And every time I listen to him, every time someone asks Jordan a question, I listen, because if they're asking him that question, it's guaranteed that I'm going to be asked this question at some point. And if you don't take the time to educate yourself on every step of where you're trying to go, you won't last. You won't grow, because you're not even expanding your mind to know the knowledge of how you even got there. So,
and is it a priority? No, that's not the word. Proprietary printer, or is this something anybody could purchase?
Yeah, this specific printer anyone can purchase. What's proprietary about it, I guess, is how we've developed processes to ensure that color accuracy remains the same while printing on different media. The technology is called UV inkjet, so it's literally the same tech that's in your desktop printer at home, maybe. But what makes it, the UV aspect of it is that there's a UV light that cures it. And so depending on the porosity or how much the material absorbs, it will absorb at different depths and then be cured once the light hits it. It's actually, like, from a tracking perspective, it is insane how accurate they can be. So this printer can achieve 900 dots per inch resolution. And so I can tell you a little bit about that process. So you lay the wood down flat, put your vacuum on so it holds it flat. It needs to be flat within, like, plus or minus maybe a quarter to a half a millimeter, because when you do print, this is calibrated to print 2 millimeters above the actual surface. So if you have a variation in your substrate, the printer will crash into it, and you've just maybe damaged, $5,000 Ricoh print head. So it's very sort of nerve-wracking when we try out new things and we're experimenting, because we're always like, all right, this looks level. Is it level? Those are the early days, but now we got good process control over the wood that we do put on it. But so let me just walk you through, I guess, what happens when the ink is ejected. So let's say this is like 2 millimeters right here, right? The printer is moving probably at the pace of my hand right now. So it's moving about, I don't know, a foot a second, let's say. And as that's happening, little tiny spheres of ink are being ejected. So the average size is like 10 picoliters. So that's 10 times 10 to the minus 12 liters, okay? So the way I describe it to people, and like so they can understand how small of a volume that is take a hair off your head, pluck it, and then get a pair of scissors and snip the smallest little piece of hair that you could see. That's roughly 10 picoliters. So and this is like thousands of these little droplets are being injected at once, right? So the path of one droplet, it's like the print head's moving like this. So we want to hit this position. If you can see my wedding ring right here, we want to have this piece of ink hit this position. So it literally travels diagonally through the air, 2 millimeters, and lands on that, it lands with high precision and accuracy there where it's repeatable that it can produce 900 dots per inch. And this is happening thousands of times a second. So the technology is it's fascinating because that is such a hard thing to do.
Yeah, that's incredible. I have a Canon Pixma Pro 200.
Okay.
So, it's here. It allows me to do 13 by 19 prints. Okay. And I still don't even understand how this thing works. So I can only imagine you scale that to the level you scale it. It'd be an incredible thing to witness.
I'll FaceTime you one time when we're doing it.
Do it.
the print surface is 4 by 8, but the whole size of it is probably, I would say, like 15 by 10. The print head is probably the size of a human torso and just footprint, and then 2 feet tall of that. So
Wow.
it's ginormous. Yeah.
That's super cool. And now, Joe, I know you have some projects coming up. You've got a little bit of video work I'd like to touch base on here.
Yeah.
So what's the latest?
So Shreveport, 50's open in Shreveport soon. So I think we talked a little bit about G-Unit Films last time.
Yep.
So that's coming. But as for myself, Jim, my manager, kind of helped me create my own film company, just through my photography. So it's Pharaoh171 Films, which is attached to my photography. And everything I shoot on is my phone. So I don't know if everyone, follow me on the Final Lap tour, but every video of 50, every Nappy video that I've shot, every video I shoot is on my phone. It's all through my iPhone. And so it's wowed Jim and all of our team about what can be captured on, like even your Pocket 3. It's like the quality that can capture is insane.
Yep.
And it goes back to our conversation of, you don't need the latest gear. You don't need the most expensive gear. Numbers are numbers, and to me, I've been using the same Canon 6D for almost 10 years, and, quality's still there. And so with the film, it was, well, let's get you a name. Let's get you a brand, if you will, or a company. And that way, when you film, you're still building. It's not. So when I did the whole tour, I didn't have a name yet. It was just, if you watch those videos, there's no, Pharaoh171 Films opening up. So it was really just one, proving my work, and through the tour, getting the documentary, and then having them back me into being behind me and creating my own company. And it's all, at the end of the day, it's all the freedom that I want, which is what I love. And I feel like once you trap an artist of any kind, is when they lose the creativity. And that's why I love every team that I work with, especially the artists, is they don't trap me into what I have to create. I have the freedom to create. And so the biggest project that I'm coming out with is called The Empire. It'll be I don't want to say a documentary. It'll just be a short, probably a 45-minute film of just my story, and what I've done. And it'll show clips of all my work, whether it be photography or film. And I just hope that it really inspires people to go to that, of like, it doesn't matter where you live, how much money you have, if you have a piece of gear, go use it. The most important part is having the creativity in your mind, putting the creativity through a lens and capturing it, whether it's film or still, and really just understanding how to work whatever it is you're working. If you have a Canon 16, you give me a Nikon, I won't know what to do. So it's like, no matter what body you have, you still have to take the time to understand it. And my most personal project is, it's called Alawai in the Anoli. And it's just a personal project that I'm doing for myself. At the end of it, I want to get Jordan involved. It's the first series that I'm doing that is film and photography. It's in the name, and this is, again, it goes back to like how deep you really want to go into it. But if in the name, if you take out the colonized words, the English words, it still means the same thing. It means quiet in the wind. Or if you take out Indi, it still means quiet wind or silent wind. And what the series is on is me capturing stills of, I don't know if abandon is the right word, but objects that aren't always buildings. Like I did a bus. I did something that looks like an old ice cream truck or an old UPS truck. I'll get abandoned buildings, whatever it is that's just sitting there, I want to capture, because at the end of it, I'm capturing something that I've never captured. So it's opening my mind. I'm filming something that's completely still. So I'm creating a film of something that's not even moving. So it's keeping me creative in that way. And to me, it's objects in the world that in a way relate to us as Indigenous people. Of we exist, we have a story, but who sees us? Who cares to see us? Who cares to, understand what this is? And one of the objects that I captured was a blue bus. It's in Bellevue, Colorado, and it's just sitting in a field. It's a blue school bus that was reconstructed by a man. It took him like 5 years, from 89 to like 94. And he took the tops of VW buses and put them on top to extend the ceiling. The flooring in the bus is from a Beverly Hills mansion ballroom that he took out of an abandoned mansion and made it his floor. He toured, well, he didn't tour with the Grateful Dead, but the bus they followed the Grateful Dead for years. And there's just so much history of this bus, and it's just sitting in a field. And to me, that stuff is just so interesting. Like, what's the history? And then another part of it is Strauss Cabin. Jordan, I'm sure you know where Strauss Cabin is, right off Harmony, in Fort Collins. And these are the places that I'm excited for. Is Strauss Cabin. It was, just a guy that built a cabin there. I will have to, when I go film it, it's kind of when I do my deep looking into the history of it. But the part that I do know is it was in the prime spot of where the whites and the Northern Cheyenne and two other tribes, I believe Arapaho were one of them. There was a cottonwood tree there, and it was so funky looking that it was so noticeable. And so they would use that cottonwood tree as a landmark to know we were in the right space, and they would use that area to trade. And that cottonwood tree is still there.
Wow. You had me at abandoned, because you know me. I love old barns. I call myself, Jordan, I call myself a documentarian of moments, because I try to capture stuff. My city's expanding rapidly. So all of the old history from Langley is being torn down. Oh. So I try to capture these old barns, these old silos, anything that's old before it's gone. And then I look into it just like Joe's doing. I love learning the history, because if those walls could tell us stories, it would be unbelievable. Sorry to cut you off, Joe.
No, you're good. And I actually thought of you when I started this, because I remember us talking about it last time, and not my series, but that's one of your interests of photography. And with the film part, it's just so cool to me to be like, everything's just, what's it called? Improv. I don't go there with a plan. I feel like when it's the same way I shoot when I go shoot wildlife or landscape. I don't have a specific subject I'm looking for, because if I just go out and look and say I'm looking for bison, my mind is so close to seeing any birds that are around me or any other thing. I'm just so zoned into bison, and I miss everything else. So all I do is the research, and then I just go there, and it's so exciting to like find it, especially when I found this bus. The first one I did, I've seen it for years. But this bus, it was so cool to just see for the first time. And when I film, it's just, everything's improv. It's just me being creative in the moment. And that's my high of the actual series, is in that moment. And then I get another high of like putting the film together. And it's the same thing. It's like, I just hate perfect things. I highly dislike them. Like, you ever sit and wonder, like, I was talking to Stilly and Nappy Roots, not to go off track, but I had a post a few weeks ago. It was like, I was asked about something, and Stilly was the one that asked me, and it was like, the intensity of my job of filming a concert is and photographing, there's no redos. There's no script. There's no cut, try again. It's all, you get one shot, you miss it, or you get it. And with film, what I've loved is I have no idea what I'm capturing. I have no idea. I have an idea, but I guess like, I don't know how it's going to look when it comes out. And just like piecing it together to create something. So with 50, it was like, you take 5 hours of film, I have to have it down to 1:30 in 6 hours. And just that part of art, it's like you watch the 1:30, it's like I could take this and make a million different versions of this same thing, and it'll look different every time. And I think that's what I love about what I do is there's no script, there's no redos. And I always wonder how movies would turn out if you couldn't do that.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
I'm the same exact style. I never have a plan because like you said, you miss opportunities. You missed images that you wouldn't have seen if you were focused on something else. So,
and I keep some of those blurry photos, like, cause I know what that moment was. I caught a kestrel, like diving down. I don't know if you ever seen a kestrel, but they like hover.
Yep.
And they like float before they just drop. And I missed the drop. I captured it, but it's blurry. And I always keep those photos of like motivation to just learn from. But yeah, I'll go through my film and I'm like, shit, my camera's rocking. Like I didn't have it still. But then I'm like, this is such an eerie situation of what I'm filming. It goes with it.
Yeah.
And then one time I had the wrong setting on my gimbal and my camera just like went side to side, but the bus was still in frame. And it was like, I didn't even mean to do this. And this is like the best part of the film.
I love happy accidents.
That's why I hate plans. It's like, if you have plans, you're going to be more mad than you are excited, because what's the excitement if you just go and get what you want? You need to have things that keep you on edge, that you learn from, and that open your mind to like, oh, so this little side to side thing that just kept the bus in frame but did this is a cool thing. And it wasn't an edit. It was just like you said, a mistake, and turned out to be an amazing mistake. What would you call it?
A happy accident.
Happy accident. I like that. It's like a Bob Ross painting.
That's where I took that from. A happy little accident.
Yeah. So but that's what I'm doing. It's I have no amount of things that I want to capture. I'm just doing it, and it's going to go on my site. Me and Jordan, we had a wildfire out here last year, or this year,
I remember
mid this year, and those are the things I love to capture and I put it on my site, and I was like, man, I should really educate people on what this is, because I've learned that I go to people's websites and it's like, okay, well, what's this, or where'd you get this, or what's the story behind this? Because to me, that's what art is. Like half the excitement of art is what's the story. Like when me and Jordan stand on the Ritz, it's the stories that I love. Sure, people are talking about my work, but I love just the stories of remembering and being taken back to that moment of capturing it.
Exactly. If you need anything from me to interviews or anything like that, let me know. I'm always game to help you out.
Awesome.
I think what you're doing it's going to be important. It's an important thing. You're capturing history, but you're explaining history. You're not just, hey, look what I got, and then know nothing about it. Right.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a neat stepping stone to watch you grow your creativity and your artistry.
Yeah.
So anything you need, if you need a forward, anything like that for something.
Thank you.
I'm your man.
I appreciate it. And the last thing with the series is, it's me as an Indigenous person. We're so used to the white people telling the history of our people, or just history itself of anything. So to me, it's me as an Indigenous person telling the story.
Yep. I love it.
And so it's just little things in the series that make it for me, whether people catch it or not, or interested to go that deep. But I hope they do, because that's the greatness of what the series is. It's deeper than what you're looking at, which I hope you gain, because I'm telling you, this is more than a bus. This thing has been through a lot of cool things. There's a mansion ballroom floor in this thing, and it's just sitting in a field.
How cool is that?
So just stuff like that. But I'm excited. I've never done a film photography series. I'm excited to get Jordan in it, because I think a lot of these pictures will be super cool to see printed on wood.
Mm-hmm.
So especially at their age, to then print on wood, which is aged.
Yep.
And add some grain into it. It'll be cool.
That's amazing. Hey Jordan, where can people find you? So if they want to get in touch with you to get some prints done, your socials, things like that.
Yeah, so on I guess my website is www.woodandslate.com, and then on Instagram you can find us at woodandslate.home. And so we'll have a whole new website launching here actually Monday, which we're super excited about. It's going to make it a lot easier for someone to upload their own photo and kind of see exactly how it will look when it is printed. We try to make that as realistic as possible. So we have really cool effects that add the wood grain to it, or add the leather pebbling effect to it as well. So,
oh, that's super cool.
I
will do everything I can to push people to your work and where they can get a hold of you and utilize your services.
That would be incredible. Wow, I can thank you now.
Right. I just think what you're doing it's absolutely amazing. Just seeing it from a different perspective, on a different material. It's like I said, I've never heard of it, and now I see it, and I see Joe's buffalo photo, and I just, not only Joe recognizes my photos, I recognize Joe's photos, but where he's sitting and how the planes are running in the clouds, there's just so much that your body's taking in that scene, and then to see it on leather and the connection, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's I will do whatever I can to help direct people your way.
All right.
We're gonna have to get you to the Ritz, Tyson.
Yeah.
That's above my pay grade. They'll be like, "Sir, you have to wear pants." And I'll be like, "What are those?"
You guys don't wear pants either? Good. I thought it was just me. Since
No, dude,
okay.
It's just the way I am. And then
Jordan, sorry.
Yeah.
Tyson, you were asking if there's more coming to the Ritz, and then we got sidetracked. So I just wanted Jordan to answer that for you, since you did ask.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. I guess so. That's what we're most excited about next. It was the best compliment when we got in there, right? They said, "Well, we need to do the rest of the lobby here. I mean, we can't have things mixing and matching." So, anytime that happens and a second order comes in right away, it's like, well, there you go. That sort of speaks for itself. So they're doing a renovation, I guess, coming up in next year or so, and so we're going to go also do one of the rooms there. I guess it's where their high profile residents stay. And so we're hoping to really make an impact on some folks there and kind of show them the sort of ambiance you can create, and how that can sort of just add to the overall elevated customer experience, especially the uniqueness and the exclusivity of it with printing Joe's photography on this unique artwork. So just trying to align our brand values with their brand values, and show how together they can be greater than the sum of just the two. So,
wow, congratulations, guys!
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. I mean, I look at stuff like this, and like we were talking earlier, this just allows me to see like the world is there's a path for me to take to get to the same level, right?
Yep.
And the coolest part is, no matter what I'm doing or what Joe's doing or what you're doing, we're friends and we're cheering each other on and being excited for everybody's accomplishments.
Right.
Like I got asked, I guess right as I got out of the hospital, I had a small podcast guy who's just starting up here in Vancouver. He's like, "Man, like, what can I do? I'm not getting the listens. I'm not getting this. And I'm like, don't worry about the listens. Any podcast under 100,000 followers, if you get 30 in the first week, you're considered above average.
Oh, wow.
Gotcha.
Right. And he's like, well, you're top 3% of your category in the world. And I'm like, I've also, I've put the time in. I've worked. I've done 75 episodes in 10 months.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right. So I have 75 episodes total that are recorded. Some of them got some audio issues, but I have, my goal was to, in the 10 months from February when I started last year to December 31st, was to put out 52 episodes.
Okay.
And that puts me at one a week for less than a year, but in year terms, that's one a week for the year. I have 46 coming out on Sunday, 47 on Tuesday, 48 on Thursday. So, I'm well ahead of that curve. And then this one, I've realized when I'm motivated by an episode that I record, I need to get it out faster.
Mm-hmm.
So this one will be up it should be 2 weeks.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and like anything new you're doing, like if you've come up with a new technology, Jordan, let me know and I'll talk about it.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to put a link to your stuff on my website. We're going to add a section called just projects on my website on the menu bar. We'll talk about the CSU show. We'll talk about the Ritz-Carlton show. We'll talk about our corporate gifts that we've done, our church gifts that we've done, and this as well. I would love to add this to the list of things and just
I would love it.
Get as many people together and grow together.
Build a community.
Build a community. Exactly. Well said.
And I found a way for me to like copy Spotify links, Tyson. So it's funny that Jordan says that because I want to create a page for your podcast. I'll put my episodes on there, but just a page for your podcast of because I think what you're doing is just as important as the photography and the art side is. Support, and people need support. People need to hear support. People need to hear people's struggles to understand that success comes with that and to be inspired. And you create a platform for people to not just find people, but to hear their stories of how they became wherever it is they are. So to hear a voice tell the story is such a huge thing.
I would truly appreciate that. And then, Joe, before we go, let people know where they can find you.
My website is Pharaoh171 Photography.com. You can also, there's a link when you click my website to be linked to Jordan's website as well. So I'll definitely add a link for you as well, Tyson. And then my Instagram is the same thing, Pharaoh171 Photography.
Perfect. I'll put everything in the show notes. And I'll do a link for, I'm a huge fan of yours, Joe. You know that. I got your back no matter what, my brother, and like anything you need, I'm here. Same for you, Jordan.
Thanks, Tyson.
I'll put you in I've got a few people that I do affiliates for. So I'll just put a link for you starting in my show notes.
Okay.
And then, we can just try to build this as a group. And I would love to see you guys be in every Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
That's goals. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
exactly.
something to strive for. So, yeah, man, let's keep in touch for sure. Joe's got my phone number and stuff, so he can fire that over to you. We text, Joe and I text sporadically throughout whenever. It's just part of it. But, yeah, we'll talk soon. I'll give you an email and we can talk about the affiliate program and things like that. And I can get some more info on the actual process. So like Joe, I don't sound like an idiot when people ask me about it. But yeah, dude, it's been awesome. It's been great hearing everything you guys are up to. Keep it up. I'm super proud of you both. Like keep pushing because we need this technology and we need this inspiration to continue.
For sure. Yeah, let's do it. Thanks, Tyson.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Tyson.
We'll talk to you later. Yeah. Who? They're actually doing quite well right now.
They are. It's
kind of scary, actually. Awesome. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Life of Phys Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed our show, and don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to bring you content and the stories of our incredible guests. And remember to stay connected with us on all social media platforms. It's at LIFE_OF_PHYS or on the internet at www.lifeofphys.com. Thank you for tuning in and have a great day.